Welcome to the No DQ live recap of Monday Night Raw for April the 26th, 2021. And we did have a change to the WrestleMania Backlash main event. That will be at the end of the video. But for now, let's get to the show. Shout out to everybody watching, whether it's live in the chat room or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. And make sure you guys check out my thoughts on the main event of the Impact Wrestling Rebellion pay-per-view. I did do a brief live stream on Sunday night. I also talked about the debut of W. Morrissey, aka Big Cass. TJS sent in a $5 super chat asking about that, what I thought of the name. His real name is William Morrissey, but I guess W. Morrissey is what they're going with. I prefer the name he's been using, Kaz, C-A-Z-X-L. I'm totally fine with that name. The W. Morrissey, I think they got to drop the W or just call him Bill Morrissey or something. I'm not a big fan of the W. Morrissey name. I'll leave it at that. Let's get to Raw. That's why everybody's here. We kicked off with a recap of last week's show. And then we went straight to a match. We had Mace T-Bar versus Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman. You had a little promo beforehand from Mace T-Bar. Now instead of masks, they have face paint, which makes them look like the Ascension now. I mean, it's ridiculous. And why do they still have the stupid names? Can't they just be Dominic Dijakovic and Brendan Williams or Dio Madden or whatever? So we had this, what was supposed to be a tag match, but before the match, you had Strowman and McIntyre backstage, and Strowman was talking about how he saved McIntyre's career last week by helping him, and McIntyre was like, he did not ask for anybody's help. And Strowman was like, well, he'll just go out there and beat Mace T-Bar by himself. He went out there for a match, and well, Mace T-Bar double teamed him, got disqualified. Drew McIntyre came down to the ring, and we had our tag match after the first commercial break. Now, should I let her grade down? I typically do, but a tag match was advertised for the show in advance. This is what they were promoting, and you're supposed to deliver what you promote. So I think I'll give WWE a pass, and believe me, they need this pass. They really do. So let's get to the tag match. McIntyre hit the Future Shock DDT, not a DVD, they're two different things. DDT, but Mace made the save. Then Strowman went for the Strowman Express, and you had Adnan Virk talk about how they're going to need a bigger boat. Yes, that's the line he used. And by the way, poor Adnan Virk, he was getting so much hate on Twitter. He's been there for 3 weeks now, and the problem is that he had no prior experience doing wrestling commentary. He's a sportscaster that was brought in, just thrown right into the deep water as far as doing commentary on Monday Night Raw. And it's a struggle for him, and fans are already crapping on him and making the comparisons to Mike Adamle. I just feel bad for the guy at this point. I think maybe over time he will get good, but he just seems to be out of place here on Raw doing commentary. OG Crushes with a $2 super chat says, oh brother, this guy stinks. So OG Crushes, not the biggest fan of Virk. And Strowman was going for the Strowman Express, but then McIntyre accidentally clotheslined Strowman, and then McIntyre got counted out. So Mace T-Bar picked up the victory. And after the match, Strowman pinned McIntyre, or not pinned him, power slammed him, I should say. And then backstage, McIntyre went to Adam Pearce and demanded a match. And Pearce was like, all right, fine, I can do that. TJS with a $3 super chat. And by the way, TJS, in case you missed it, I did read off your super chat from the other night at the beginning of the video. He says, 3 hours of Raw feels longer than my 9-hour shift. I have a little trouble reading the screen sometimes. I thought he wrote Shaft at first. Anyways, let's move on here. We had Miz TV with Miz, John Morrison, who's back after missing last week. And you also had Jackson Riker, who still has a job somehow. And you also had Elias, who is still getting TV time despite not really doing much of anything these days. Again, Miz took credit for Bad Bunny's tour selling out, and they had a special song, an unplugged acoustic version of Hey Hey Hop Hop with everybody singing. And I actually thought this was good for heel heat, and you could see the Thunderdome screens, everybody with their ears covered. I kind of thought this was entertaining. Detective Mocha with a $2 super chat says, man, this show is so bad. SmackDown is now better. Now better? You're saying now better? SmackDown has been better. I mean, 100% since Roman Reigns came back, first of all. I mean, there's been very few weeks since Reigns turned heel that I feel SmackDown was better than Raw. Or Raw was better than SmackDown. Excuse me. Anyways, we had Damian Priest interrupt the song, and you had the New Day out there with the same case, the bass guitar case, only this time there were tomatoes in the case, and they started throwing tomatoes at Miz, Morrison, and Jackson Riker and Elias. And then once again, Adnan Virk was like, this is going to get a 98% on the Rotten Tomato meter. Well, I want to know what it's going to get on the NoDQ.com poll meter for Monday Night Raw. That's what I'm wondering. Probably not very good. Certainly not anything near 98%. Yeah, this was something else, I must say. And by the way, Virtue has a new column up on NoDQ.com. Make sure you guys check that out after this video. So we had a 6-man tag team match and pretty standard stuff. Faces dominated early on. Xavier was playing his trombone, and then Kofi Kingston got worked over for a while. And then finally, the faces made their comeback. And Xavier Woods pinned Riker with an inside cradle. And yeah, still not sure why Jackson Riker is still there. Like, you get rid of the other two guys and you keep Jackson Riker, which just boggles my mind. And I've never been a Gunner fan. I mean, going back to Impact Wrestling, I've said this in other streams, like, I never saw anything in that guy, and I was surprised WWE even hired him in the first place. So let's move on here. We had Sonya Deville sneaking around backstage, and she brought in Charlotte Flair, who, if you guys remember last week, was, well, suspended. And Sonya is going behind Adam Pearce's back, bringing her into the building. And then in the ring, Sonya Deville introduced Charlotte. They had a referee there, the referee from last week that Charlotte beat up. Basically, Sonya thought that maybe Adam Pearce was a little rushed with his decision to fine and suspend her. So Sonya was going to give Charlotte a chance to speak and give her side of the story. Charlotte apologized to WWE, the WWE Universe, and the referee. And the referee accepted the apology, and thus Sonya Deville said since the fine, the $100,000 fine was paid, Charlotte was officially back reinstated in WWE RAW. So yeah, not even gone a full week is Charlotte Flair. And Sonya said that later in the evening, Charlotte would compete with the same referee calling that match. And Charlotte, before the segment was over, she wanted the referee to apologize to her for admitting that he did not see what happened, and if he was paying attention, Charlotte would have won that match against Asuka last week. So he did apologize, and that was that. Backstage, Adam Pearce was very upset about this, of course, that Sonya was sneaking around, and she apologized, but he was not buying it. TJS with a $5 super chat, thank you, Tyler, says, I wonder what's going on with AJ Styles. He's on the new WWE.com Raw banner, so I don't think it's a contract dispute. Hopefully not COVID-19. Well, what he means by that is that for the third week in a row, no AJ Styles or Omos. The new Raw Tag Team Champions are MIA. I guess we need a milk carton for these guys. Like, what happened to them? We don't know. They just disappeared. There's been no word on what's going on with them. And people are going to speculate about it. I don't know. And as TJS also says, still no Keith Lee. A lot of mysteries. Bray Wyatt was not on this show. It could just be... I feel like Bray Wyatt is... WWE doesn't know what to do with the guy. I really think that's the reason. It's a creative thing with Bray Wyatt. AJ and Omos don't know what's going on. They were not on Raw the next night, and they've been off TV for 3 weeks now. Greg says, cut creative a break. They can't focus on 2 tag team champions at the same time. I mean, yeah, that definitely seems to be the case here. You know, anything that requires a lot of thinking is a challenge, you know. OG Crushes with a $2 super chat says, Undertaker killed AJ Styles again. Yeah, could be AJ Styles just taking his post-WrestleMania break, but if that's the case, why even put the titles on those guys? And Hamp Kata with a $2 super chat, thank you Hamp, says, greetings from Disney World. You're in Disney World, eh? Well, I hope you're having fun and you're staying safe. We had Strowman backstage with Adam Pearce. And Strowman was like in that triple threat match a few weeks ago. It was Orton that took the fall, and thus Strowman is still a candidate for the championship. And he wants to be added to the match. And Pearce said that if Strowman could beat Drew McIntyre in the main event, then yes, Strowman would be added to the WWE title match at WrestleMania Backlash. We had Sheamus come to the ring for a promo, and he talked about beating up Humberto Carrillo last week, and he called himself Shamey, which not sure I would want that name to catch on, but that's Sheamus for you. And he called out somebody to take his open challenge, and it was Humberto. Yay. Humberto ran down, Sheamus jumped him, but then Humberto made a comeback, sent Sheamus over the table, and guess this continues, this storyline continues with Humberto and Sheamus. I really don't care. I have little to no interest in this. Detective Mocha with a $2 super chat says, Kenny Omega needs to save this, take the WWE title. Yeah, you wish. That ain't happening. But it's a nice thought. We had backstage MVP just teasing that him and Lashley had some grievances to address. We had Rhea Ripley cut a brief backstage promo talking about how she liked Charlotte being fined and said she's going to focus on her 6-woman tag team match and not bother about Charlotte at the moment. We then had Lashley and MVP come to the ring, and Lashley talked about how it was a dream come true to earn the respect of people live at WrestleMania with the fans in attendance. But he said Drew McIntyre is like gum at the bottom of his shoe. He just can't get rid of Drew. And then MVP talked for a bit, said he's upset that Adam Pearce did not talk to them about possibly adding Strowman to the title match at WrestleMania Backlash. And MVP said it's going to be a repeat of the U.S. title where Lashley's going to lose his title without being beaten in the ring. And that's just not fair. Nobody beat Lashley to win the U.S. title. And Lashley finished off by saying that he would be observing the main event. You know what that means. You know that most likely means shenanigans. We had Matt Riddle interviewed backstage talking about how he was not just on cloud 9, but cloud 12 after beating Randy Orton last week. And then Randy Orton showed up and Orton was like, they got nothing in common. He said he underestimated Riddle, but Riddle sort of earned his respect. And thus, he said that, RK bro is a little catchy. Orton said he'll team up with Riddle. They'll do a trial run of the tag team. And Riddle was like, maybe they could have matching snakeskin Speedos. And Orton was like, well, one thing at a time here. Let's try our match out. And if that goes well, then maybe we could talk further. So, hey, Randy Orton might be considering the snakeskin Speedos. That would be something else. Shayna Baszler was backstage talking about how she wants no more distractions. Boy, does that ever sound like something that everybody else wants as well. Then somebody arrived with flowers for Nia Jax, but they were not from Reginald. They were from Angel Garza. Nia took the flowers. She was very happy, but then as she was walking in the hallway, she smacked Mandy Rose with the flowers and said something like, go water these, bitch, or something like that. We then had MVP confront the Big Stro backstage, and I think he's pretty much the Big Stro at this point. Like, did he turn heel when he power slammed McIntyre earlier? I don't know. But yeah, he's always all over the place as far as a character goes. 1 minute he's a monster, next minute he's got a soundtrack of a train when he does his move, then he's teaming with Nicholas, then he's fighting Bray Wyatt in a swamp. Like, he's always doing something different here. So he is the Big Stro. MVP with the Big Stro, and MVP was, trying to say his piece on behalf of Bobby Lashley, and Strowman was having none of it. And Strowman was basically like, if MVP or if Lashley has something to say it to his face and don't get MVP involved. We had Corey Graves on commentary talking about the Matt Riddle and Randy Orton team, basically teasing the idea that Randy Orton has never played nice with others and has always been a loner, and it looks like Riddle is walking into a trap. We had a tag team match, Orton and Riddle against Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. Basically the B team at this point. They're there to put over other people. And pretty basic match here. They worked over Riddle for a while. Orton got the hot tag. Orton caught Cedric Alexander coming off the top in midair with an RKO. And then he went for the draping DDT on Shelton. Riddle wanted a tag. Orton agreed. So Riddle was tagged in. Orton hit the DDT, and then Riddle hit the floating bro and picked up the victory. Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, RK Bro, victorious in their first match together as a team on Raw. OG Crushes with the $2 super chat says, boring straw man. Yeah, it's boring when the character is just all over the place, I will say that. And after the match, Riddle celebrated with Strowman, or not Strowman, Riddle celebrated with Orton, and Orton just walked away and took his leave. He could have attacked Riddle, but he did not. So I guess this pairing will continue for at least a little bit longer. We then had Asuka teaming up with Naomi and Lana against Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler. Pretty much the same routine with these ladies that we've seen the last several weeks. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke came down to ringside. They threw a bucket of water at Shayna, and then Nia Jax tripped on the water. Yeah, this is still going on. This is still a thing with Nia Jax falling and making a fool of herself. After the commercial break, the match resumed, and Reginald got on the apron. Same old crap here with him. And Rhea Ripley hit the riptide to Naomi, but Naomi was not the legal woman. Lana came in, rolled up Rhea Ripley, and did not win, thankfully. And then Rhea Ripley hit the riptide to Lana, picked up the victory. Actually, it was Nia Jax who picked up the victory with a leg drop, got tagged in, whatever. Match was silly. Just don't care about what's going on here with the women's division. They're really dropping the ball with it. Like, it's just so cheesy, the humor and Nia Jax tripping. You know, it's one of those things that I think only Vince McMahon would find funny. Like, he's probably laughing his ass off backstage. Elon Brown says, same old crap, different week. Dr. NXT Scorpio says, terrible division. We had Sonya Deville backstage with Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke saying that they should be ashamed of themselves. And Sonya announced that her old buddy, Mandy Rose, would be Charlotte's opponent. We had an Alexa Bliss segment, talked about Lily. Everybody can have a Lily of their own. Look into her eyes, think dark thoughts, and then she said, start thinking about something peaceful. And then we had these images of nature on the screen, and then all of a sudden, Lily popped up, scaring everybody. If you guys remember back in the day, like there would be these flash videos where it's like, can you spot the item in the house? And like you're looking real closely, and then all of a sudden some scary image pops up in your face and there's a screaming noise. That's basically what this was. I'm not sure if you guys remember those flash videos from back in the day. This is like probably 15, 20 years ago. We got a $5 super chat here from Roy. Thank you, Roy. I appreciate it. Says, isn't it crazy that back in 2001, Raw was able to fit in so much in their shows, but now they can't find time for champions? Shaking my head. Well, they had a smaller roster. Well, maybe not by 2001. Once the Alliance and ECW got going, it was pretty overcrowded. But yeah, I would say around 2000, WWE had a nice sized roster to the point where you were able to get a lot of people on the shows, and the shows did move at a fast pace. And now, even with 3 hours, WWE cannot get their entire roster or close to their entire roster on the show. Dr. NXT Scorpio with the $2 super chat says, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Not going to say it the third time because I don't want to summon him. But thank you for the super chat, Dr. NXT Scorpio. Trying to get me in trouble here by having me say it 3 times. I know better. We had Charlotte versus Mandy Rose. Same distraction finish with Dana Brooke getting on the apron. And then Charlotte complained about the referee's count. Mandy came in with a roll-up, but did not win. And then Charlotte made a comeback, hit the natural selection, and picked up the victory. And then the ref even held the ropes for her afterwards. So if you guys are intrigued about this referee storyline, then more power to you. Detective Mocha with a $2 super chat says, focus on wrestling, stop with the stupid stories. Sports entertainment, they got to have the stories. The problem is that the stories suck. If the stories were good, I'd be all for the stories. They're just lousy. That's the problem. We had our main event of the evening. Drew McIntyre versus the Big Stro. Before the match, Drew McIntyre said that he was expecting to get the hands of Strowman. He wasn't expecting Strowman to want handouts. And he said the monster among men is just the monster complaining. I'm sure somebody spent a lot of time thinking of these lines for McIntyre to say. Anyways, the Big Stro got the upper hand early. Then Bobby Lashley arrived as he promised. He was going to watch the match. Drew got back into the swing of things. He did an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. And then Strowman came back with a power bomb, got a near fall. McIntyre, back and forth match here. McIntyre with a Glasgow kiss, and then hit a spine buster for a near fall. And then Strowman came back with that with a superplex off the top rope. And then with Strowman building momentum, perhaps on the verge of winning, you had Lashley show up. Well, he was already there, but he got on the apron. Another apron moment here. And MVP on the other side of the ring saved Drew McIntyre from getting power slammed, saving Drew from getting beat. And then McIntyre was about to win when all of a sudden Mace T-Bar got on the apron. Stupid babyface. McIntyre gets distracted again, just like he did at WrestleMania. And Strowman hit the power slam. 1, 2, 3, beat Drew McIntyre. Bobby Lashley takes his title. He stands on the announce desk, holds up his title. McIntyre gets up, and instead of being pissed or going after Strowman or Lashley, McIntyre and Strowman just stand there and point at Bobby Lashley. And that was the end of Raw. So, yeah. Like, they made McIntyre look like a complete buffoon on this show. Like, he was on the verge of losing, so Lashley and MVP had to save him. And then he still loses because he gets distracted by Mace T-Bar. Like, seriously? And then he just stands there after the match. Ooh, all right, it's a triple threat match. I'm cool with this. Like, really, dude? MVP Kev says this seemed awful. Like, the match was fine, but like the whole scenario with how this played out was just so ridiculous. Like, Tic Tat Tat says it's time to turn Drew heel. They got to do something with Drew. I mean, really, this show just needs a big overhaul, but I've been saying that for years. And I really don't think anybody's going to change or anything's going to change until we get fans back. And even then, it's probably going to be the same thing, just with a crowd. Go back to how it was before. Like, the first couple of weeks, I think the fans will be hot. But then, by the end of the year, maybe not even the end of the year, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks, it'll be back to, crowds hot at the beginning, and then the terrible booking just burns out the crowd, and they'll be dead by the second and third hour, so it'll sound like a pandemic Raw, even with fans. OG Crushes with a $2 super chat says, stupid babyface is a trope that needs to go away. 100% agree with you, but they're really overdoing it with the distraction finishes, like, so badly. It's just absurd how many times it happens, and AEW does it too, but not to the degree that WWE does, especially on Raw, it seems. The Game is on 100 with a $2 super chat says, Strowman to eat the pin for Lashley and Drew McIntyre, LOL. Yeah, probably. I mean, I would think Strowman's being added to the match because WWE booked themselves into a corner like they always do. And, they're teasing the idea that Lashley's going to lose the title in a triple threat, which means this time it won't happen. So, yeah, Strowman probably takes the fall. I suppose McIntyre could take it, but McIntyre doesn't need to be taking any more falls at this point. All right, so letter grade for the show. It was rough. Like, I don't want to say it was worse than last week, but it was kind of the same level for me. So I'm going with a D plus. Not a very good show at all. I did like the Randy Orton, Matt Riddle stuff. You know, that's pretty entertaining. And there are a few moments that were reasonable, but a lot of bad writing on this show. Don't care about this pay-per-view. And yeah, it's just a struggle to watch. A lot of comedy segments that fell completely flat. I missed Samoa Joe. Adnan Virk seems like a nice guy, but 3 weeks in, it's going to be a tough road for him. TJS with a D plus, and CC Drink, Kim Hall, Matt Helms, all with a C minus. Michael Wayne and Caleb Jacobs with a D plus. Daniel Sims says a D. This show was boring. And Elon Brown, D minus, just wants to know what's up with AJ Styles and Omos. We don't know. Your guess is as good as mine at this point, and I'm sure people will have their guesses, and hopefully they're fine. Hopefully it's just a creative thing, which, you know, that sucks too. But I'd rather it be that than there's something actually wrong with them health-wise. All right, so that's all I got for Raw tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Turn on the notifications, of course, for updates. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest news and rumors. Take care, everybody. We got a week of live streaming. Lots to come. I'll see you guys next time.